Want to deal the highest amount of bleed, fire, and physical damage? Well, today I present to you top three builds that you're going to be able to use and that you're going to need for the upcoming DLC Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, these three builds are going to be at level 150, which is enough to be able to get the true arcane bleed out of each weapon. Each build is going to do the highest bleed. It's not only going to make Elden Ring a lot of fun, but also you're going to be destroying anything that gets in your way. Now, if you're hyped for Shadow of the Erdtree, hit the like button because it does help me with the algorithm. Now, let's dive into the top three arcane bleed builds. So the number 3 weapon we're going to be talking about is the Eleanor's Pole Blade. This one is one of the best twin blades that you guys can have. Now, the question is, why are these 3 builds so broken? Is one, we're dealing physical damage, we're dealing fire damage, and on top of that, we're also going to be dealing bloodlust buildup to an insane amount, which to the point you guys are just going to be taking down anything that gets in your way. So to optimize these 3 builds, we're going to be using the White Mask. This one's going to help us with the blood, raising it to a 10% once it's proc. Then we're going to be using the Fingerprint Armor that's going to give us about 36 points. We are going to be taking advantage of the Lords of Blood Exaltation. Now, this one's going to raise the attack power by 20%. Bloodlust and its vicinity increases attack power. Now, this one's going to drop from the Edgar's Priest of Blood in the Lindell Catacombs. Pull up your map, and this one's going to be right close by where we are at this moment in this section around here. There is going to be a catacomb. Defeat the foe, and then you guys are going to have this amazing talisman. And then we're going to be using the Fire Scorpion Charm because this one's going to take advantage of the fire attack that is within these 3 different builds. And we are going to increase the attack power by 12, but we're also going to be lowering our damage negation by 10. And then we're going to be using the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia. This one's going to increase your attack power by successive attacks in 3 different stages at 3%, 6%, and then on top of that is going to be at 13%. So as you see with the Eleanor's Pole Blade, you guys are going to be doing successive attacks, which is going to help this weapon take down anything within seconds. And then we're going to be using the Shard of Alexander, greatly boost the attack power of skills. And in this case, the weapon is going to have the following skill, which is going to be the Blood Blade Dance. Anything that it hits is going to pretty much just increase the damage because we are dealing not just physical fire, but on top of that, bloodlust buildup of 83. So how do you use this build? There are a couple of things that you guys need to implement in this build to be able to increase the power. And one of the things are going to be 2 incantations. The first one is going to be Flame, grant me some strength. And then we're also going to be using the Golden Bow, which is going to give you 15% more additional power. Overall, is going to raise the level of this weapon to 848. And in the Flask of Wondrous Physics, we are going to be using 2 tiers. The first one is going to be the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, which is going to temporarily boost the fire attack in all of our 3 different type of weapons that we are going to be using. And like I promised to you guys, what you can do to increase the poise is to use the Linden Heart tier. This one is going to increase your poise for an additional 3 minutes. And the great thing about that is that any fight, just about any boss or anything that you guys encounter, is not going to last for more than probably 3 or 4 minutes, which should help you enough to take down anything that gets in front of you. Now let's take a look at our attribute points. Vigor is going to be at 40, giving us enough HP to stay in the fight. Mind is going to be at 20. That is enough to use the skill that is within this weapon. We're going to be spamming it, but we also have enough flasks to be able to always bring back that to 100%. Endurance is going to be at 20. That is sufficient enough to be able to handle the not just the armor but also the weapon itself and the different talisman that are in within this build. Then dexterity is going to be at 22. That is sufficient enough. Intelligence at 9. We're not really using that at all. In faith is going to be at 25 because we are using the golden vow. Minimum requirement for that is going to be 25. And then this is where you guys need to do is raise arcane to 80 points. That is going to increase the power that is within the weapon itself. It's not just power, fire, but also bleed is going to go to 83 from 55, giving you guys an additional 28 more points to bleed, in which is going to help you take down anything that gets in front of you. And the next weapon is going to be the Margit's Cursed Sword. This one's going to be from the Remembrance of the Omen King and can be purchased through the finger reader Enya, which is found in the round table. This weapon here deals a 294 physical damage. It has a very good critical weapon of 110. It does have a passive effects of blood loss build up at 90. And I will show you guys later on why it's going to be at 90. But the great thing about it is that it also deals fire damage. And as you guys see, the unique skill, which is the Cursed Blood Slice, it says the bloody trail of the blade is followed up by a burst of flame. So we are also going to be dealing physical fire, and on top of that, blood loss buildup of insane amount of 90, which is going to help us just take care of any foe that gets in our way. We're also going to be using the white mask, and then on top of this, the fingerprint armor, because it's going to give us enough poise to be able to withstand any hits. And then later on, I'm going to show you guys what else you guys need to do to be able to increase that. And we're also going to be using the Lords of Blood Exaltation, which is going to increase the attack power by 20% for 20 seconds. And we're also going to be using the Prosthesis Wear Heirloom because it's going to raise our dexterity by an additional 5 points, in which is we're going to be needing this to be able to use the weapon itself and to be able to use this for a level 150 build. And then we're going to be using the Ritual Sword Talisman, which is going to be raising our attack power when HP is at a maximum, and then Shard of Alexander, that's going to greatly boost the attack power of skill by 15%. Now, how to use this build? One of the best things about this weapon is the unique skill of it. As you guys see, it does like a running attack, but it also does a follow-up after the running attack, which does a double hit. But in addition to that is the flame that it does surrounding you. So anything around you is going to get damaged, and it's also going to increase the damage that it outputs because we are taking advantage not just the blood but also the fire. So we are going to be deleting anything that gets very close to us. And then next we're going to be using Flame Grant Me Some Strength, which is going to raise our armament attack power from 686 to 823, giving us a nice boost. And then on top of this, we are going to be using in our Flask of Wondrous Physics, we're going to be using 2 of the tiers. One is going to be the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, going to temporarily boost our fire attack for 3 minutes. And then we're also going to be using the Boost Poise, which is going to be the Leading Heart tier, which is going to also raise our poise for an additional 3 minutes, in which is going to help us withstand hits. And also at the same time, it's going to allow us to stay in the fight to be able to deal damage to foes, bosses, or anything that gets in our way. Now, to make everything work in this build of level 150, we're going to be using the following attribute points. Vigor is going to be at 40, enough points to stay in the fight. Mind is going to be at 20 to help us out with the unique skill that is within the weapon. Endurance is going to be at 20, strength at 14, dexterity at 36, intelligence at 9, faith at 15, and arcane at 80, because once we go to 80, we're going to be able to deal blood loss buildup of 90, which is an insane amount of damage with this weapon. And the number one most broken fire bleed weapon is going to be none other than the Modwin Sacred Spear. Fully leveled up, deals 235 physical damage, 151 fire damage, and on top of that is we're going to be causing blood loss buildup to 92 for a level 150 build. I will be showing you guys what exactly you guys need to have the talisman crack tiers, and then on top of that, what armor you need to wear to be able to increase the power that is within this broken build that just deletes anything within seconds. And so we're going to be using the white mask. It's going to increase power level of when blood loss is at its vicinity for 10%. Then we're going to be using the fingerprint armor because it's going to give us a nice poise. And then on top of that, we're going to be using the Lords of Blood Exaltation. This one is going to increase our attack power by 20% for 20 seconds. But the amazing thing with this weapon itself is that you're always going to be doing damage every single second that you are using this weapon, which is what makes this just the most broken build that you guys can put together in Elden Ring. There is nothing like this that you guys are going to be finding that is so broken, that uses all the mechanics that are within the game itself. And then on top of this, we are going to be using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. This one is going to help us with our physical damage negation. Is going to be boosting it for 20%, which is what we actually need in this build, because we are just going to be spamming the unique skill that is within the weapon itself, and we're going to be standing in one position, and this is going to help us withstand any hits if any boss or any foe gets close to us. And then on top of this, we're going to be using the Ritual Sword Talisman, which is going to increase the power since we are going to be at maximum level. And then we're going to be using the Shard of Alexander, which is going to greatly boost the attack power skill that is within this weapon. So overall, we are just going to be deleting with the unique skill of the Blood Boon Ritual, which does an explosion of blood with each thrust that it deals, not only dealing blood loss, fire, and also attack, physical attack at the same time. This is so broken, but let's make this even more broken in how do we use this build. One of the things is that we are going to be using the Flame Grant Me Some Strength, which is going to increase it to 966, dealing an insane amount of damage. And what we're going to be doing is just standing in one place and just spamming the unique skill of this, dealing an insane amount of damage in just few seconds. And then on top of this, we're also going to be using the Wondrous Physics, which is going to be the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, which is going to temporarily boost fire attack that is within this weapon for 3 minutes. And also we're going to be using the Lending Heart tier, which is going to temporarily boost our poise for an additional 3 minutes, making us not just tanky, but at the same time we are going to be dealing so much fire blood damage on anything that gets really close to us. So how do we make this build work at level 150? Vigor is going to be at 45, giving us enough HP to stay in the fight. Mine is going to be at 32, enough for us to use the unique skill that is within the weapon. Endurance is going to be at 20, Strength 24, Dexterity at 14, enough to just use the weapon. Intelligence at 9, Faith at 15 to be able to use Grant Me Some Strength. In Arcane is going to be at 70. At 70, you guys are going to be dealing at 91 blood loss buildup. And if you guys go to 80, you're just going to be increasing it by 2%, which really doesn't even matter. At 70, it's just a perfect perfect level that you guys need to use to be able to take advantage of what this weapon does. So final thoughts about all these three builds. Overall, you guys can use any of these three builds. It just depends on the playing style. And also, if you guys want to use this one here, the mod wins, that is the most broken weapon, most broken build that you guys can put together. It just deletes anything that gets in your way. Use the different type of talismans, the armor itself, and also the flask, and then you guys will be unstoppable. Also, if you guys made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much to sticking around with us. Also, don't forget to hit that like if you have not. Don't forget to hit that subscription button if you guys are new to the channel. And also, thank you for everyone that shows your extra love by hitting that thanks button. Now, if you guys haven't taken a look at this other build that is showing up right now, do take a look at it. I'm sure you guys are going to be loving it.